Something big is happening across gun counters in 2025. You can feel it in the energy of every range, every gun show, every back-ordered distributor site blinking out of stock. This isn't a repeat of the panic-buying years where fear drove sales. No, this wave is calmer, deliberate. Shooters aren't rushing to grab whatever's left. They're targeting specific models, handpicked for trust, performance, and legacy. The kind of guns that don't need flashy ads or influencer hype to move. They sell because they work. Walk into any gun shop in Texas, Florida, or the Midwest, and you'll see the same pattern. Some shelves look untouched, while others are stripped bare. The reason? A handful of models, tested, trusted, and time-proven, are being snatched up the moment they restock. Buyers are choosing with intent now. It's not about novelty, it's about owning something that's going to run when the lights go out. That's why in 2025, 8 firearms stand out above the noise. Each one dominates a different corner of the market, and each one tells its own story about where America's shooters are heading. From light recoiling rimfires to duty-grade carry guns, these pistols represent a quiet revolution in how the American gun owner buys and why. Let's start small. Literally. Ruger's LightRack LCP 2 in 22 LR isn't some gimmicky pocket pistol. It's a bestseller with a mission. Ruger's own first quarter report confirms it. Over 356,000 units shipped, a massive chunk of that coming from the LightRack series. Why? Because it fills a void the rest of the market ignored. We're talking about a pistol designed for people who've struggled with stiff slides and sharp recoil. Seniors, new shooters, or anyone with limited hand strength found their answer in Ruger's LightRack system. By reducing the slide tension, Ruger made a semi-auto that even arthritis sufferers can run with. Confidence. It's more than clever engineering, it's respect for real-world users. This lightweight semi-auto, tipping the scales at just 17.3 ounces unloaded, is pure simplicity. A blowback action, 10+1 capacity, 3.5-inch barrel, manual safety, and adjustable sights. But what sells it isn't the spec sheet. It's the experience. Pull the slide back once, and you feel the difference. It's effortless, smooth, and friendly to anyone who's ever winced at a heavy slide. Gun instructors have started recommending the LightRack as a go-to first pistol for seniors or students with limited grip strength. You'll see them at range days, at concealed carry classes, even tucked inside glove boxes across the country. It may not be everyday carry for hardened professionals, but it's the gun keeping thousands of people active, accurate, and safe. Ruger didn't stumble into this success. They built it through feedback listening to frustrated shooters, especially women who wanted a carry-capable pistol they could actually manipulate. The LightRack proves that user-focused design pays off. Low recoil, affordable ammo, and an easy learning curve, those are features that sell themselves. From there, the demand only grows stronger. Because the next firearm flying off shelves isn't a polymer wonder. It's a stainless steel classic reborn. Smith & Wesson's Model 640 Performance Center Edition and 357 Magnum is rewriting what it means to be old school in 2025. Revolvers, the so-called relics of the past, are selling like hotcakes. And not just to collectors or wheel gun diehards. Everyday carriers, backup gun enthusiasts, even off-duty cops are turning their heads toward this little powerhouse. Built from solid stainless, this double-action-only revolver carries 5 rounds of 357 Magnum or 38 Special Plus P if you prefer a softer kick, a tuned performance center, trigger, polished action, and night sights elevate it beyond nostalgia. It's practical, compact, and brutally reliable. What draws people isn't just the chrome and craftsmanship, it's the simplicity. No safeties, no slide to rack, no jam drills to memorize. Just pull the trigger. In a high-stress moment, that directness matters. Sure, it's not cheap, hovering around $850 to $950, but ask anyone who owns one, and they'll tell you it's worth every penny. A revolver that vanishes in an ankle holster yet punches far above its weight in power and precision, that's rare air. And right now, the 640 PC lives there. This isn't the flashy end of the market, it's the steady heartbeat. The reminder that sometimes the simplest tools are still the most dependable when everything else fails. But the story doesn't stop there. Because the next pistol on this list didn't sneak into the market quietly, it came in swinging, determined to change how budget guns are judged in America. When a gun arrives and refuses to behave like a budget piece, people notice. That's exactly what happened when the MC9 Prime hit shelves. It didn't crawl in whispering, it barged into conversations and range lanes with an attitude. Built on a proven platform, this micro-compact flips the script on what affordable means. Instead of stripping features, it brought them good trigger, optics-ready slide, multiple magazine options, and then backed those promises with real-world performance that felt like theft at the checkout counter. This isn't a fanboy fever dream. The MC9 Prime is a striker-fired polymer frame 9mm with a 3.1 8-inch barrel and magazine capacity choices that read like options 12+1 or 15+1. It weighs in at roughly 21 ounces unloaded, with ergonomics that actually fit hands without forcing compromises. From the factory, you get 3 back straps, an undercut trigger guard, and enough grip texture to hold on when the adrenaline spikes. The trigger comes crisp with a clear reset, a detail shooters notice the second they run a magazine through it. What pushed the Prime into scarcity wasn't just the parts list. In 2025, the company opened a U.S. production facility, and that moved more than inventory. It moved perception. A brand that used to be pigeonholed as a budget import suddenly had domestic manufacturing credibility. Restocks that used to trickle now hit hard and sold out faster than a late-night online drop. Threaded barrel variants vanished into dealer pre-orders. Used MC9s kept near new price tags because people who couldn't get a fresh one paid premium to avoid the wait. And performance, real shooters started posting range videos and forum threads with the same headline. Feels like a high-end compact. Reliability held under mixed ammo, concealability checked the box, and recoil management punched above its class. Dealers reported pre-orders, closing within 48 hours of launch. That kind of demand curve doesn't come from hype alone. It comes from a gun that earns trust the hard way, shot by shot. Next, the market's appetite moved to a more refined kind of control. CZ didn't reinvent the wheel with the P10C ported, but it did sharpen the edge. The ported P10C is a 4-inch barrel 9mm with factory slide ports and a ported barrel designed to vent gases upward and tame muzzle rise. Capacity sits at 15+1, and the platform brings CZ's signature ergonomics and tactile trigger reset. The result is a compact that shoots flatter under sustained strings, not just on paper, but in matches and defensive drills. That matters. You don't need louder bangs or flashier cuts that punish the shooter with unpleasant blast. What you want is control that ability to re-engage quickly, hold the sight picture, and make the shot count. USPSA shooters and CCW carriers both started shipping these into their rigs. Dealers noticed restocks disappearing in days. Fans loved that it arrives ported from the factory, less tinkering, more shooting. Then there's the VP9 Match H&K's long slide answer for serious competitors and owners who demand top tier out of the box. With a 5.5-inch barrel, extended slide with lightning cuts, and a 20+1 capacity when you run extended mags, the VP9 Match is the kind of pistol you seek out. It's not impulse buy material. It's a deliberate purchase by people who want a tool, not a toy. Stores report it sells out faster than most full-size competition pistols, particularly optic-included bundles. Competitors in IDPA and other practical shooting circles started bringing it to matches and walking away impressed. Meanwhile, Ruger quietly released the RXM line, another sleeper that matured into a standard. A 3.7-inch barrel, 15+1 capacity, optics ready across the board, and handling that punches well above its class made the RXM feel like a compact that had graduated to duty-level control. Early reviews praised natural point of aim and recoil control. Social threads lit up. Did you try the RXM? Became a genuine question among shooters, one you hear before someone invites you to the range to actually try it. Demand curves, back orders, used market premiums. This year's hottest guns share one trait: they earned their place through function, not flash. But there's one more group of pistols that still rules the conversation: micro compacts that redefined concealability and changed how people carry If you want to understand why people are standing in line 6 deep at gun stores, look no further than the micro-compact revolution. These pistols rewrote the rules about what a carry gun can be. They took capacity, controllability, and concealability and jammed them into frames you barely notice until you need them. The P365 is the icon that started that movement, and in 2025, it still sets the bar. SIG's P365 family is less a single pistol and more a platform that refuses to compromise. At its core, it's a striker-fired 9mm design built around a 3.1-inch barrel with options for 10+1 or 12+1 magazines. What matters isn't the spec sheet alone. It's how the pistol balances in your hand, how the trigger behaves when the lights go bad, and how much confidence it gives you walking out the door. The X-Macro variants stretched that formula, adding a 3.7-inch barrel with a 17+1 capacity while staying slim enough to vanish under a shirt. People buy these because they work across roles. Deep concealment, duty backup, or just the gun you know reacts predictably when you call on it. Owners don't treat the P365 like a disposable trend. They buy a second one for a different carry setup. They swap holsters, not pistols. They recommend it to friends, and that kind of organic endorsement keeps it selling quarter after quarter. Market trackers in May of 2025 placed it at the top of semi-auto handgun sales for multiple consecutive reporting windows. That's not luck. That's product market fit. Meanwhile, you've got the Glock that never quits. The Glock 19 Gen 5 is practically a cultural constant, simple, rugged, and famously indifferent to bad press. It's a striker-fired polymer frame 9mm with a 4.02-inch barrel and a 15+1 capacity that keeps working when other choices fall apart. Gen 5 brought meaningful changes. A marksman barrel that lifted accuracy, a smoother trigger feel, ambidextrous controls, and the removal of finger grooves so more hands find a natural grip. Agencies still issue it because it runs through long days and longer qualifications without complaining. What hunters of performance and dependability both understand is this: the Glock 19 Gen 5 is not glamorous, but it is predictable in the way that matters most. When a reviewer cycles 3,000 rounds through one without a malfunction, that's not a headline, it's a promise kept over and over. That promise is why buyers who want one gun that does everything go with it, and why retailers see inventory evaporate fast. Between the P365 and the Glock 19, you're looking at the twin poles of current carry strategy: compact versatility and stubborn reliability. They anchor buyer decisions when the market gets noisy and options proliferate. People choose one because they know exactly what it will do under pressure. That certainty beats novelty every time. But the story of 2025 isn't just about the stars at the top. It's also about how the middle of the market finally matured. Ruger's RXM proving a compact can act like a duty gun, CZ's ported P10C giving shooters real control out of the box, and H&K's VP9 match delivering competition-level performance without the aftermarket circus. All of these signals point to a single conclusion: buyers are investing in tools that minimize surprises. And yet, for every model that sells out, another question niggles at the back of the mind: are we entering an era where practicality rules every purchase, or is something else reshaping how Americans pick their next gun? Yes and no. The market shift you're watching isn't a single cause wearing a neon sign. It's a braid of threads. Manufacturing caught up, user feedback finally met with design changes, and a cultural reset where people prefer competence over cosmetics. Retailers have become smarter about what to stock. Manufacturers learned that the loudest launch doesn't always win. The quiet product that solves a real problem does. That's why micro-compacts, tuned revolvers, and workhorse full-size pistols are all selling out for different reasons in the same season. Think about logistics for a second. When a company opens a domestic plant, it doesn't just shorten ship times. It changes buyer confidence. The MC9 Prime proved that. Opening a U.S. facility in 2025 moved perception as much as it moved boxes out the door. Suddenly, buyers who once wrote off foreign budget brands started seeing them as legitimate contenders. Dealers felt that shift in pre-orders and backorder lists. Used markets reflected that. Too lightly used MC9s trading at near new prices because people were willing to pay to skip the line. Meanwhile, design matters more than ever. Ruger's LightRack wasn't a gimmick. It was a direct answer to a real complaint: stiff slides and limited accessibility. That simple mechanical empathy unlocked a whole demographic of shooters who had been marginalized by standard carry designs. The Smith & Wesson Model 640 Performance Center showed that wheel guns still solve problems modern autos complicate. H&K's VP9 match and CZ's P10C ported showed us that factory-level refinement beats aftermarket patchwork for many buyers. You're also seeing a new kind of buyer literacy. Folks aren't just chasing brand names, they're reading forums, watching honest range tests, and comparing not just specs, but real performance under stress. That's why the P365 family keeps selling people trust the platform. That's why the Glock 19 Gen 5 remains a constant. The promise of reliability is baked into the product. For many buyers, predictable function outweighs flash every single time. But here's the rub. Supply can react, and history tells us demand often follows. If manufacturers sustain quality while scaling production, the current shortages will ease. If they chase market share by cutting corners, the market will correct itself the same way buyers shrugged off flashy flops in past cycles. The middle of the market is where the fight for credibility happens now. Who can produce an affordable gun that feels like a duty pistol? Who can keep warranty, support, honest, and parts available? Answers to those questions will redraw the map of bestsellers in the next 2 to 3 years. And politics don't ignore it. Legislation, enforcement priorities, and licensing regimes still alter buyer behavior overnight. A single regulatory change can pivot demand faster than any marketing campaign. That's part of why seasoned carriers diversify. One gun for concealment, one for home defense, one for range work. Redundancy isn't paranoia, it's planning. So where does that leave you, the shooter scanning empty cases and firing up backorder alerts? It leaves you with choices, but also with a clearer landscape. Buy for what you need, not what's loudest on social feeds. Try before you commit if you can. Consider proven platforms first, and respect the wheel guns and rim fires that are quietly keeping people safe and engaged. Which side are you on, the conservative buyer who trusts the Glock and the P365, or the early adopter willing to try the MC9 Prime or Ruger's RXM? What's in your safe right now? And what's on your wish list that you can't get?